Greetings, loyalists and heretics. Welcome to Iron and Ceramite, where we once again enter the warp without an astropath.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Iron and Ceramite podcast. Thanks for joining us. My name is John, and joining me this week are Tom.
Sup.
Sup. Shane.
Hello.
And Glenn.
Oh.
You two are not as gangster as Tom. I'm afraid.
Never been.
Only four of us, but we are expecting Dave, who, if you watched last week, he's got a very long commute home from work. It's taken him a whole week to get here, but he may drop in and surprise us soon. So before we get into it, because there is a couple of days left, jump onto our Instagram and look for our giveaway, where you can win one of several big models. I'm not going to embarrass myself and forget all their names now, but you look for the post. All you got to do is like that post, make sure you're following us on our Instagram page, and then tag two friends in the comments, rather, for a chance to enter. And we will be closing it on the 30th of April and announcing a winner on the 1st of May. And if you win, paint the model up once we send it out to you, and send us some pictures of it done, and we will feature it on our Hobby Roundup podcast, where we will, I'm sure, shower it in praise, as we are good at doing on this show. But that's a cheap plug out the way. Guys, what are we talking about this week?
Board games we'd like to play in the Warhammer universe, or tabletop games, whatever you want to.
So is that a board you'd like to be in a hive world playing cards with somebody, is it? Or is it a bit more than that?
I have no idea what you just said. Say that again.
I said, so is that going into a hive world and playing a game of cards with somebody, or is it an alternate 40k game?
Potentially.
Yeah.
I could have picked Nick from under, I suppose.
You torpedoed that, Tom.
I've got no idea what you're talking about still. That's why.
Strong start, fellas. Strong start. Bit of improv banter has gone down amazingly well.
Yeah. Just went straight into it.
Sorry, it's late. If there was something that I should have been picking up on there, it wasn't there at all. Sorry.
Well, I won't explain the joke because it'll be even less funny then.
You've got to explain it now to make it more awkward.
More awkward. So what I was saying, you said games you like to play in the 40k universe, other games you like to play in the 40k universe. So I was like, would you like to take a pack of cards onto a hive world and play with someone as you're about to get fucking chewed up by tyrannids? Or is there a different game you'd like to play? But now...
Yeah, I fully get your meaning now, yeah. To answer your question, no.
No, cool. Right, and that's Exterminatus. We'll end in shame. Cool. Yes, other games that we would like to play from Games Workshop. So, what has everybody done their research, or these games that you guys have played in the past that you'd like to revisit? How did you guys sort of pick yours?
Who are you looking at first?
Well, I'm just looking at all three of you, sorry. I'm one of the four.
Well, I think originally we looked at it as like, right, who wants to cover which game? And then it's kind of like, right, those that actually have played or have done bits and pieces of various games went with those ones. I know Dave is very keen on obviously staying within the 40k remit, went for one that fit that. Myself and Glenn, luckily we've played a few of them, so we picked based on maybe some of our experience. And Tom had just picked up a new game himself, so was keen on exploring that. And I believe you yourself, John, we kept you in the 40 or 30k universe to a degree, to help you out.
Yeah, I definitely picked something. I definitely researched something, or not.
That is the look of a confident man, right there.
Yeah. I researched it. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I came clean to Glenn yesterday and said I just haven't had time, but there are things that I'd like to try. But we'll go with you guys first, and then if we're really strapped for time, then I'll embarrass myself later.
Are we going first, so you can Google while we're talking?
Yeah, I'm going to tune out for 40 minutes.
40 minutes. Jesus.
I'll go first simply because I don't know what I'm talking about, and it'll be quite interesting to wait to hear what the other two have got to say, because it will make sense. So I'll get my few bits of rambling out of the way, I guess. So, right, I wanted to go with Warhammer Underworlds stroke Diachasm. I'm not exactly, there's two different rule books. I've actually got them in front of me. So there's one that's just the Underworlds one and one that's Diachasm. From what I can make out, they're extremely similar, if not almost identical, with just a couple of minute details. I'm not really sure what the differences is. I haven't had enough time to read through both books yet, but they are very similar. And I think Diachasm is just like more of an expansion or an extension of Underworlds. I don't know if anyone else can know. Glenn's shaking his head.
Shane
Right,
nodded, Glenn shook his head.
You're in the right ballpark. Basically, Diachasm is the second season, essentially. So what they do is they do a starter set, and then they release either 5 or 6 warbands, I think, and then they do a new season as the story moves on. So there's a little bit of story.
Really?
Sorry, what?
Just sort of an update then of the same.
Yeah. So, the fact that you had picked this inspired me to go out and buy Harrowdeep, which is what they're up to now. It's got some new warbands in it and stuff, and it just adds a little bit more of the extra rules into it. So sometimes as warbands come out, they have sort of, I won't say army specific rules, but sort of they're introduced with the warband, and then they become part of the overall rule book. So like my Harrowdeep rulebook will have everything that's in Diachasm and your original rulebook as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really good little system. I will throw back to you to explain a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I say, I haven't actually played it against anyone yet. I've set it up. I have got the actual game set up on my table next to me with all my pieces out there. So I have got 2 different. Actually, let me get the cards. I've got 2 different warbands. So Kugra's Ravagers and the Crimson Cult. That's the 2 I went for. I got the starter set as well, but it didn't come with any of the models. Someone had taken them out to paint. But I've got all the pieces that need to be, like the dice, obviously the bold, the objective markers, and all the little counters and stuff like that. So I've set it up, and I'm getting sort of used to the rules. They're very thin books, and I thought to myself, 4 models against 4. It's supposed to be a 45-minute game, tiny, thin little rule book. And the moment I started reading through it, I thought, I haven't got a clue what any of this means. Because like everything in Warhammer, the way it seems, a lot of it could come down to an interpretation of the way it's been written. And I suppose unless you know someone who's played the game and that's sort of been, settled amongst the people who play the game, you'd never really know what it means. I'm just trying to cover up the fact that I'm thick, really. But yeah, I mean, getting into the game itself, that's what attracted me. Just the fact that it's like a 45-minute game once you've learned how to play it, of course. Because I was playing a game against John, which was 3,000 points, 40k, and it took 9 hours. It took 9 hours, and John got home at like 5 o'clock in the morning or something, and had to creep into his room. And, I just thought to myself, I know that was a 3,000 point game, but I thought to myself, every game is you have to properly set your day around a game. Even a 500 point game can be a couple of hours. So I wanted to get into something that maybe you could play just sort of like after work with someone. It's like an hour, they could stop by on the way home from work or something, and you could just quickly get a game in. So it might take a while to learn, but once I've got to that point, I think it could be quite fun, especially if you've got a few different people to play against. I mean, obviously Glenn's got a few warbands now. And what hasn't Glenn got, let's be honest? He's got something of everything in that massive cupboard of boxes and stuff. So yeah, that'll be interesting to play. But I mean, it's like a card game as well, isn't it? It's essentially like a card game and a tabletop game in one. So, like I say, you've got 4 against 4, the 2 warbands. You've got 2 pieces of a mat, and you roll off for who puts the mat down and for who goes first and stuff like that, similar to in 40k. But the biggest part of it is the cards as well. So each character or each model that you use in your warband has like a fighter card. With all of it, it's essentially like a data sheet for each model that you'd have in 40k or something else like that. and it tells you how far they can move, what the range of their weapons are, how much damage they do, how many wounds they've got, things like this, and what their special abilities are. But it's not like Warhammer, as in you have to measure how far you move and things like that, and how many inches you can shoot and all that. It's all done in hexes, so it's more like a chess game in that sense, where it's got hexes on the board, and each move is just to the next hex, and then the next hex, and then so you know that's the way it's played. You've got objective markers, the same as 40k stuff like that, but it's a very small board. It's like a tiny board. There's not a lot of movement that can be done really. You sort of straight into action immediately, hence the fact that it's quite a quick game. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting underway with it, but there's not really too much more I know about the game itself, other than the fact that you get 4 turns each per round, and there's 4 rounds. So
not 3.
4 activations. Let me have a look.
Yeah, you can activate 4 models, but you get 3 turns each.
3 turns each, is it?
And you alternate activations.
Right,
Thing is, both your warbands have got 4 characters in them. So for you, you can activate everybody. For me, I'm looking at Garrick's Reavers, which is one of the older ones. There's 5 in that. So there's always going to be one guy I'm not activating a turn. Some of the undead ones and like the goblin ones and stuff like that, they've got like 7 or 8. So you got to be really, really careful about who you're activating. So it does become like really strategic, and like you say, the cards are a massive thing. But it's not just you have your cards in your hand and you're like, haha, there's like stratagems in 40k, you pick and choose, you draw them, you have like your objective cards that you are getting points on, and then you've got upgrades or schemes or spells and all this kind of stuff. So it's a little bit random as to what you're going to actually be able to do with your game as well.
You build your own deck, though, don't you? In the first place, you build a deck of however many you want. I think it's got to be 20 or more.
Yeah, minimum 20, and I think the objectives, I think you've got to have 12 or minimum 12. I'm not sure if it's only 12 or minimum 12.
Only 12, I think it is. This. What I wrote down anyway.
Yeah. Like the decks you get in the, like each time you buy a warband, you get all the cards you need. But it's a lot of cards that are universal ones, so you can swap in and out sort of different objectives that they go with your alliance or sort of your warband specific, or whether they're just sort of general ones. Most of the time, the stuff that is for your specific warband fits quite well with the play style that the sort of the developers envisioned you use in them. Like I've played this game quite a few times with quite a few different warbands, and like I've played with one of the dwarf ones. Their play style is designed to be very aggressive in your face, and you get like your cards inspired by moving into your opponent's board, which means you either get a better attack or more wounds or better defense and stuff like that. Whereas some other ones, you get the inspired card by like, for example, the undead one, bringing back a model that's died. So it was a bit more difficult to get them to a better level. So it's
sort of like you're constantly trying to achieve certain actions in the game in order to get yourself sort of upgraded, or on your objective cards. I think if you meet certain criteria of what you've done in that round or previous rounds, you get the objective points, which is how the game's scored, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, and if you kill your opponent completely, you have to play out the remainder of the game, basically, because you can still score your objectives, or your opponent could have got 12 points, 12 glory points, whatever it is, and you could be on 2. But if you completely wipe your opponent out at the end of the first turn, if you can get those points back by playing the last 2 turns completely by yourself. So they encourage you to actually play the full 3 turns of the game, even if you've completely annihilated your opponent, because you've wiped your opponent out does not mean you won the game.
So it is purely based on points then for not the cool.
Yeah, it's a really strategic little game. Really enjoyed playing it.
So is there anything that's overpowered at the moment, or are you still up with Underworlds or whatever it's called?
I haven't played it in 18 months, maybe 2 years since I last played it. It was probably, I think Dark Chasm had just come out whenever I last played it. Now it's Harrow Deep, and I've got the new rulebook, but I've not read through it. And I know some of the cards that were, as card games go, sometimes when they're brought out, they think, yeah, that works. But then you combine them with the right or the wrong warbands, they become too powerful. So they ban them. So I don't know what the sort of the current ban list is, or what the best sort of universal cards to put in your deck or anything like that at the minute, because I've been just getting back into it. I'd probably just run the standard decks for the various warbands, especially since 3 of them I've never played with before. So yeah, I just run the standard stuff. I don't know what the sort of the gaming meta is at the minute. Although I haven't looked at a lot of the warbands, a lot of the ones that sort of come out this season or last season tends to be 1 or 2 bigger things and several little gribblies. So I look at them and go, nah, it's not really my play style. I really enjoyed using the orc one. They were quite cool. The dwarf one was quite cool. And Garrick's Reavers, the sort of the Marauder one. I've seen that Chaos one that you've got be used a couple of times. It's quite good. It's a very aggressive style as well. So I've enjoyed sort of that way. But as for what the meta is on the cards, I don't know, because that's as probably more important than the actual warband you have, because the warband set, you've got no choice as to, I'm going to take this model or that model. You go with what the warband is, and then it's the deck you build is the equivalent of what your army list building is.
Yeah, I think like I say, I mean, obviously I like the fact that it's a shorter game, but I don't know if it's the same for the older ones that you've got the warbands, but the models seem to be strikingly cool in comparison to any other models that I've seen in Warhammer at the moment. I mean, they're all relatively small, but they're so well detailed. The bases are all excellent on them as well. They've all got specialized bases. None of them have just got the plain black Warhammer plastic base. Yeah. Are they all like that, the warbands, or have they got better recently? They are all.
They've always been like that, even since the very first ones. Your pretty much every warband is a box of individual characters. There's none of this, oh yeah, it's some undead gribblies. Oh yeah, like a couple of ghouls, yeah, they'll look exactly the same. No, they're all completely different. Like I say, the bases are all different. One of the guys I was actually chatting to on Saturday, when I bought the Crimson Court, he was saying that they used to be able to not get them in store because they were so popular, because it was basically 4 individual vampire characters. I looking at them, it's like, yeah, I'd run them as, vampire lords or whatever the equivalent is now in Age of Sigmar.
I was going to ask you, Glenn. I've had people ask me this, and obviously I don't bloody know, but can you play these models in Age of Sigmar or some form of other Warhammer game, or is it just specifically for Underworlds, Dichasm, whatever the other thing was?
Funny, when you asked me what warbands I had, I couldn't remember the name of the Garrick's Reavers, so I had to look it up. And now you can't buy them as a warband, but you can buy them as an Age of Sigmar unit. So some of them will be useful as a unit. Some of them you could go, yeah, that's, I think it's a Zinchen warband. Some of the models you kind of go, okay, yeah, I'm not going to have much use for that, but there is blatantly a sorcerer that can be a sorcerer. He might not have, they won't have necessarily the names, but there's nothing to stop you using that specific character as a nice version of, a chaos sorcerer or an ogre hunter, or
There's no difference really if you like kit bash a model and use it as a lieutenant in a game at 40k, for example.
No. If it looks like what it is, then fair enough. Have at it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so I mean, to be honest, that's pretty much all I've got to say about it. I know it's more than Glenn talking than me, but yeah, like just talking about it with you, Glenn, it does really make me want to get in depth with it and actually find out exactly how to play, because it sounds really cool, man. What about you, Ted? Do you other two think you'd be interested in playing this game? I know that we're still learning 40k. Well, me and you are, John, anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you reckon?
I'll be able to come around and figure it out with you. Sounds good. Sounds different as well. I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Cool.
Sounds interesting
game for you to suck at.
Well, yeah, that's it. This is the thing. I still struggle with 40. I reckon we could drag out 9 hours as well.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, that would just be per card, 40 minutes figuring it out. Arguing over stupid rules.
Well, another thing with the game is it's really easy to add in a third or fourth player. And I think between me and Tom now, we've probably got 5 or 6 different unique warbands. So, next time we all get together, you've got 4 boards or 2 boards. I've got 2 boards. So, we can do a 4-man and, sort of run it through, or even just because it's really good. And it's the same as a lot of the smaller box games. It's like it's a beer and pizza game. You don't have to take it too seriously. It doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
It's something you can just sort of do over the space of an hour. Because we used to do it whilst there was a game of 40k going on the table, and then down the other end, anyone that wasn't playing 40k was playing Underworlds, and we used to smash through like 4 or 5 games by the time that the other 2 were even remotely halfway through their game of 40k.
Oh, cool, man. No, we'll have to do that then. Make like an Iron and Ceramite day of it. I know we say this about bloody everything, but we're definitely due one, aren't we?
Yeah.
An Iron and Ceramite Games Day.
Well, I was going to say, this is the first time I can't think of how many episodes that we've all been together, because those that are listening only won't know that Dave's been saying quite.
Dave has joined us.
Hello. The Messiah has returned.
Yeah.
And
with that, that's Exterminatus. I'll see you next week. Hello Dave. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Busy day at work today, so apologies for my my lateness. But
very shiny head today.
I am warm, to say the least. I've been running around like a blue ass fly.
Oh god.
We got fatter as well.
Yeah. I was going to compliment you on your haircut, but I've decided not to now. You look more like an egg now, Glenn.
Yeah, brothers.
At least I'm not the only one that's getting round as well.
I've always been round. I'm just adding to the roundness.
Yeah.
He's just shaving off a bit of ear every week. I was going to say, how much is a box of Underworlds? Like
25 quid.
25 quid. And how many? And
If you buy it from an official place, you can get them from about
20 quid on Amazon.
Yeah, about anywhere from about 17 upwards. You can pick them up from. The nice thing is, you can pick up some of the older ones a bit cheaper, but they're not still usable. You can still use them. Everything is in that.
Yeah.
You can use. But like I say, between me and Tom, we've got 5 or 6 war bands. So before you sort of go, oh yeah, I'm going to go and get that, have a go at the game.
Yeah.
You might not like it. You might really enjoy it. You might think, I need to get me that crab model.
Yeah. If there's one thing I'm lacking, it's crabs.
One thing I've got too many of.
Sorry, Dave, I missed that.
So it's one thing I've got too many of.
In the tone.
Well, you know what, Glenn, you know what we're like. We all go out and buy everything without thinking.
I fucking do.
Yeah. So I've got a 500-piece magazine subscription coming through the door that I can't keep up with. So I will probably end up. I'll come around and give it a go, Tom. Hopefully it's good. There's something else to do, isn't it? Something else to talk about.
It did look good the other day when we had a game, Tom, and you had it all sort of set up. It did look quite interesting.
Yeah, because it's just on one table, isn't it? So it's only a small little game, really.
Yeah. I'll be definitely out for a game or two.
A game where we don't have to stand up for hours as well.
Hey, that'd be well strange, wouldn't it? Pretty much anything but going up against Dave's tower again, I'm down for, really.
Have you done like a dry run with yourself? Like gone through it at all? Gone through emotions?
In all honesty, every time I get halfway through the rule books, you know what it's like, even with the 40k one, you just go, oh, I can't read this anymore. Even though you want to know, you can't just retain the knowledge in your head and it gets you down after a while. But I need to read the book a couple more times properly and then I'll try a practice game and I'll let you know how I get on.
Cool. Look forward to it.
So yeah, that's me done. Now on to the people who know what they're talking about, I suppose. Apart from Dave, obviously.
Fair one. Fair guess.
Shane, we're never going to guess what you've picked.
Yeah, I know it's definitely not the same background as last week's pod because we don't record them at the same time, as everyone knows. No. But yes, no, I've picked the Blackstone Fortress, which is the site it's in the Warhammer Quest series of games, which a bit of backstory. It's basically a dungeon crawler, and Warhammer Quest was the old world version. So it was spun off the back of a very old game now called Hero Quest, which has since had a republish, which was Games Workshop partnering with MB Games at the time to bring board gaming to the masses. And you could be a dwarf or a barbarian, a wizard or an elf, I think it was originally. And then obviously MB and Warhammer or Games Workshop sort of went their own separate ways, and Games Workshop spun out Warhammer Quest, which was much more detailed. So you had loads of different classes of hero that you could be, and a lot more deeper system in terms of the sort of role-playing element. And the dungeon you went through, rather than being based on a board, was built up by different sort of tiles that you stitch together any way you liked. And that was all well and good, all based in the old world. And then I think it was at the start, a couple of years ago now, I was like, I wonder if they do one in the Warhammer universe, Warhammer 40k universe, and that's Blackstone Fortress. So it's very similar principles in that you pick, you've got I think there's in the box itself, there's 9 different heroes or explorers you could pick from, all with their own agendas and backstories and stuff like that. And they're all looking to explore this Blackstone Fortress that's been found on like the edge of the Imperium. And they've all got their different reasons for having a look through it or finding out the secrets of this fortress. And you play as one of them. And I think you can play, 5 players can play it. And if you play as 5 players, 4 of you are the explorers or the good guys, and 1 of you plays the hostile forces. So it's like your dungeon master effectively. But the idea is that it's all like one in scenarios. So the idea is that you go through this fortress through, I think it's like 8 different maps. In the end, getting to the center of the fortress and discovering its secret. That's in the standard box. And doing one scenario takes about an hour. So what you typically do is you might play 1 or 2 of the scenarios, and then you pack it all away into little envelopes so that you know exactly what your hero has got at that point, so that when you next get it out, you can start the game from the beginning, from where you left off. So a bit like a save feature. You just pop it all into like a little what they call a stasis chamber, which is actually just an envelope where you just stick all the cards, and then when you come back, you can pull that out, and it shows you, you know, you've got all your equipment again, and back you go. And yeah, there's a couple of, it is just classic role play because there's a couple of different bits and pieces. There's like the setup where you're in like a space station that's right next to the Blackstone Fortress called Precipice, and that's where you buy all of your, or do all your trading, so you've got your weapons and special, you know, equipment and stuff like that before you go into the scenario. And then you dive in, you do the scenario, and then at the end of it, you try and get back out so you can do all the roles that you need to do, depending on whether you got injured, depending on whether you found any archaeotech, stuff like that, whether you found the secrets that you were looking for to get to the next stage of the fortress itself and uncover what's in the middle. And everyone, as I said, everyone's got their own agenda. So in the picture in my background, you can see one of the rogue traders. So that comes in the core set. It's a guy called Drake, Janus Drake, and he's obviously a rogue trader on commission. He's got his license from the Emperor, or, you know, back in the day when his family first got it, and he's sneaking around trying to look for whatever the secrets are. He's also, it's a side bit of lore, he's the author of, there was a book that came out for 40k about Xenos biology. He's actually the purported author of it, but that's sideways lore. But you've got various other pieces in there as well. You've got Thaddeus the Purifier, who's a priest, big fat belly servo skull next to him, and he's got his missionary zealot Pius Vaughan, who's a guy that's got like a flaming chainsword, which is all pretty good. You've got an Imperial Navigator from the Imperial Navigator houses out there to salvage his family's honor, because obviously they've fallen on hard times. You've got a suspicious Imperial robot called UR025. Is he a man of iron? Is he AI? Probably, but he's not letting on to it. But he's a very cool character. But he's out there on the edge of space again, trying to find the answers that lay within this fortress. There's a crew tracker that's pretty cool as well as a Eldari Ranger, like sharpshooter, and then you've got two Ratlings as well, Ryan and Rouse. One who's got a sniper rifle, and the other one's got like a grappling gun. So that's pretty cool. And then on the bad side, you've got a Chaos Lord, so a guy called Obsidious Malix, and two Chaos Space Marines who were part of one of it was part of one of Abaddon's Black Crusades, and they got stuck in one of the fortresses as it sort of twisted and shaped around them, and they've been stuck inside this fortress for however long. And as you go through each scenario, you draw random cards to see which hostiles might show up. And so, you know, you could be on like level 5 of your adventure, and suddenly Obsidious Malik shows up with his Thunderhammer, and the old priest doesn't stand much of a chance. But that's the idea of it. You got to run around the corridors and try and avoid him. And you got some Chaos Space Marines, Chaos Beastmen, which you don't really see in 40k at all. Some other bits and pieces like cultists, psychers, spindle drones. The cool thing about this one is that all of them come with data sheets as well. So if you do want to run them in 40k proper, you can. You just have to find the right detachment to actually put them in. But they have got their own data sheets, so you can run them in regular 40k as well. But they're definitely not designed for that. So like I've got enough Chaos Cultists if I wanted to run them with my Thousand Sons, for example. But they're all just painted generic Black Legion or standard duplicitous guard at the moment. But it's a good game, and there are loads of, there are about 3 extensions that they've released for Blackstone Fortress so far as well, that includes things like Ambles and more heroes. I know there's another rogue trader in one of the extension packs as well, so you can get more different characters, different ways of playing. It's very different to 40k as well, because you roll your dice before you even start, and you kind of put them on your on your sheet, and that kind of dictates how strong or weak your character is. So it's all like when you go into it, you kind of, every character has to roll to determine what their traits and stats look like for that particular level. And so you do have to work together as the good guys to try and get through the to get through each level. But it's a good game. It's the reason I bought it originally was just because it was all inclusive. You didn't need to do anything else. You could just play it and be done. But as with anything Warhammer, it does take a bit of time. As I said, I've never completed it. I think I'm up to about level 5 at the moment, and it's now packed away next to Necromunda, ready for the next time I bring it out. I have painted all the models in it though, which is one thing I will say.
I was just looking at you while you was talking about the model. I was literally looking at your Instagram, going through them as you was telling me.
Yeah.
No, I do like their models.
Yeah, they are nice models, and it was good variety of stuff to paint.
If you haven't finished the game, have you opened the mystery envelope?
No, it's
good. That's fair enough.
I haven't opened it yet. No,
I personally don't know what's in it, but I know of the mystery envelope.
Yeah, no, there's a mystery envelope, the hidden vault, which you get to when you get to the last level. I haven't opened it yet, so I don't know. So I haven't found it, but one day I will.
It is one of those games that's supported in White Dwarf. They kick out a load of extra missions, and whenever they produce random models and stuff, I think they support it in White Dwarf quite well and quite heavily.
I mean, it's Warhammer Quest is one of those ones that they always seem to have supported to a degree in the old and new world. And I'm sure we all read or heard a bit of the hoo-ha about Curse City, which was the Age of Sigmar edition of Warhammer Quest. But that's back out now as well, so you can get that now as well. But I wanted one because, as I said, I like the old world. Not really got into Age of Sigmar yet. I wanted one that was self-contained adventure in 40k, and this does the job very nicely. As I said, it's you still need a big enough table for it because you've got to get the entire like Blackstone Fortress level built up. But once you've done it, it's good fun. And again, it's all hexes, so like Harrowdeep, Tom. It's Warhammer Underworlds. It's not, you don't move with inches, you move via hexes, and depending on what your movement statistic is.
So no questionable measuring then for Dave, for example. Not just
no questionable measuring.
Loser.
That's it. The only thing you ought to like is it's up to you how honest you're going to be if you're controlling the hostiles. You're like, okay, they're supposed to move towards the nearest character, but they're equidistant, so you know where are they going to move to. But that's how you play the game. But if you've got someone controlling the hostiles, it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's good fun.
Is it up to 4 players or up to 5?
Five players. So even though there's 9 good guys, you only ever take 4 on a mission. And if you do it that way, you have one player. Each player controls one of the explorers, and then if you've got a 5th player, they will control the hostiles.
Okay. And you all sort of got to work together to get to where you need to be. Or
if you don't work, if you don't work together, you will get killed. Like it's pretty unforgiving. Like if you don't work together, you will definitely die.
And so then when you die, that's it.
When you run through a airlock and lock everybody in, thinking you're safe, and then you turn around and get xenomorphed.
Yeah, no, there's no way. There's no way you can do the whole thing without working together. So it's quite,
once you die in it, what happens? Is it like you died? That's it. You're out.
So what you would do is if all 9 explorers die, then that's it. Your adventure through the Blackstone Fortress is done. If you were playing, like let's say we were playing and we took 4 characters out, and you happen to die, you would just pick a different explorer for the next level.
Okay.
And then
suddenly shows up.
Well, no, because they're all on a space station just by the Blackstone Fortress. So between levels, you can go back to that space station to recoup and stuff like that. So if you died on the fortress, though, that's it. You're dead.
Yeah.
So if we were playing and we survived the first game, and you went, Joe, I don't want to be the crew thing anymore. I want to be someone else. You could just swap it out, and it's not a problem. Yeah. Or you stuck till they die.
No. You can swap it out, because what happens is you collect, like each character as they go through, they'll collect different bonuses. But if you swap characters, you can't take that bonus anymore, if that makes sense. So if you've got 4 characters and you've run through, say, 3 or 4 levels all with those 4 characters, that might be a bad way of doing it, because then it means you're other explorers don't gain any advantages, and if you suddenly need to use them, you've got a character that isn't really leveled up compared to the level they're playing in. So you've got to think about who you're going to take when and what missions.
Did you play with the boys then? Is that what you?
Well, when I started it, I started playing it with the eldest. He was able to play it. The youngest was not. He didn't quite get the idea that we had to help each other. He just wanted to be the robot and shoot shit. So it was like, no, you've got to do it this way. But the eldest liked it. That's we got about halfway through, and then we haven't picked it back up yet.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it wasn't too.
Sounds like another Iron and Ceramite Games Day.
It does.
That would be perfect. 5 players and everyone's taken. That'd be perfect.
Yeah. It would definitely take a. As I said, it takes a bit of time. You could play like one level, but I think if you're going to play it, you'd want to commit to try and do the whole thing, not necessarily in one session. That would be a very long time. But you'd be like, right, we're gonna start our own quest, and today we'll do 2 levels.
Is it as long as you want to make it as well, or is there like a set period that you're going to have to play for anyway?
It all depends what you want to do. Like if you just want to do, you drop in and actually we just want to do one quest, take about an hour. But if you want to do the whole narrative piece where you've got to find the hidden vault, then it will take you, a combined like 8 hours overall. So you split it into a number of gaming sessions. And then once you've done it once, you might then go, right, I'm going to get the add-ons. So as I said, the add-ons come with extra heroes, extra missions, extra bad guys to face. Like there's one that comes with like an amble, which is like a big rampaging like creature thing that burrows underground and stuff like that. Yeah, very much a Gribbly. But lots of different bits and pieces. And as I said, it's all playable in main 40k as well, which is nice. So it gives you a few different models that you can play around with.
That sounds really cool. Both of the games so far, I'm up for burning some time into.
Yeah, well, you guys wouldn't need to buy anything because I've got it. That's it.
I pick your game.
And it was the first time we actually got proper Trader Guard models as well.
I just need to go and get a charger because my phone's about to die.
Oh, Tom. Yeah, they are good Trader Guard models actually. They've got nice design to them.
It's same as a lot of the box games. All really nice models.
Yeah, they are actually. Like the first Kroot tracker I had was so nice that the dog ate him, so I had to buy another one on eBay.
Have you got all the expansions for it? Have you just got?
No, I haven't bought any of the expansions because I want to play. I said I didn't finish the base game yet, so I'd want to finish the base game before deciding whether or not I wanted to get any expansions. But as I said, I think there are 2 or 3, but I don't know whether I don't think they're still in print. I think you can still order them, but I don't know whether they're gonna make any more. But we'll see. But as I said, it's good. It's a good game.
Yeah. Cool. Nice.
At least we got some sense out of someone today.
And that's where that ends.
It has to happen once in a blue moon. Glenn, can you want to talk some sense first, or should we go to Dave? Let's go Dave's nonsense first.
Dave did specify that that's where it ends, so I think he was pretty determined that he was going to be the next one. So let's listen to what Dave has to say about whatever he's going to talk about.
Kill Team is what I'm here to speak about and impart my knowledge onto all of you. So, has anyone played Kill Team?
No.
Before?
Not this edition.
No. We played the last edition.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to explain that? No, I'm joking. So I've done a bit of research, and the thing that sort of stood out for Kill Team with me is that it seemed like it would just be pretty much just need to pick up the movement bits and the compendium for the rules. So I thought it'd be a good way of starting a new game without spending huge amounts of money. And I think that is the case. From what I've done, the research that I've done, it does seem like that would be the case, because there's quite a few sort of different new ones you can do now. But it seems like you can pick up, for example, a Tau Pathfinder team or a Fire Cadre, and then just sort of go with that, or a Guard unit, or Commandos, etc., etc. There's a lot of similarities with 40k. Obviously, it's based in that, but it's more skirmish sort of thing. So a lot of the mechanics of the game are very similar to conventional 40k tabletop, but then there's a few tweaks and a few differences in it. The first one obviously being that it's individual models rather than units, and then it is sort of like your movement's different, and then obviously going through it, all sorts of different bits and bobs that are slightly different. So it starts off with initiative, similar to how you would start a game 40k. You both roll, I think it's 2d6, is it? Yeah, 2d6. And then whoever's higher, you go first. There's no picking or choosing first or second. That's it. You go first. And then it goes to the movement phase, which I think is the only one that's actually named after what you have in 40k. And they've all put their own sort of bloody names on every other thing just to make it even more confusing, even though they do the similar things. So you do all your movement first. So if you get the initiative, you would do all your movement first. And this is one of the phases where you do everything, all of your models before they do their models. And then the phases are slightly different that way. So the movement system it's got its own gauges, and it's all changed to triangles and fucking stupid things like that. But they all count for certain move characteristics, and then your models will be able to move a certain amount. So you use these funky little gauges that they give you, and then you can move straight into it. So you still got falling back, you've still got sort of your charges, etc. You also do your charges in the movement phase rather than any other phase, which I found was a bit odd. Or you can ready. So if you don't move, you choose to keep your model wherever it may be, you can ready, and then you get basically an extra, you get to shoot first. So any model that readies will shoot first. Then going into shooting phase, you would switch between the two of you. So say I'm playing Tom, for example, I've moved first, I've readied 3 of my units or models, and he's readied 1. They would all fire first, and then we'd take it in turn with initiate. Whoever got the initiative, they would then fire first, which I thought was quite a cool way of doing it, because it seems to make it a bit more, a bit fairer. Because obviously with 40k, if you get first turn and you don't sort of put your things in a particularly good place, that's it. You're going to get, you're going to have a bad day and lose a lot of your army before you even do anything. Whereas in this, it doesn't seem like you're going to lose a significant amount straight away. The rules again: fly, ignore any vertical distance. So it's exactly the same as 40k. Anything over 1.5, sorry, anything under 1.5 inches and no longer than 1.5 inches, you ignore as well for movement, which seems a bit more intuitive. And same, you can't move within an inch of the enemy. So same as engagement range. But then you do the charge, like I said. So the last thing with the movement phase is you can do the charging. Still 2d6. And then you can't shoot in melee with this. So they can still do the Overwatch with some sort of CP system, which I can't quite get my head around. You still get CP with this. But I can't work it out, for I've watched the bloody videos on Warhammer Plus. And they simplified it, but sort of made it too simple to the point where I was like, you're not fucking telling me anything. So my bit, I can't really get my head around that, but it probably is really easy once it's explained properly, but oh well. And then each kill team, you can have 2 reactions to a charge, which is basically Overwatch, and again 6s to hit, exactly the same, or retreat, where you can bugger off 3 inches and just get out of there. But then I think you use up some of your points, so you wouldn't be able to do another action when you do that. So onto the next phase, which is the psychic phase. And in somewhat of the research that I've done, I'm not sure if you need a psychic character. Glenn, you might be able to help me with this, or you just get a psychic phase anyway. But it seems you activate one psychic per player per battle round, and then you roll for smite, and then basically on a 6 it's a D3, I think. Double ones is perils, double 6 is D3 plus one D3 plus another D3 mortal wounds. So I don't know if you know how that works, whether you need a psyker in the kill team or you just get it anyway.
No idea.
Okay, thanks. Cool. Moving on.
I would imagine you would need a psyker.
Yeah.
Because like I know I have the compendium of kill team.
Yeah.
I haven't got the rules for it, but I've got like all, so I know what you can and can't take in a kill team. And there are psychers in there, but not everything is a psyker. So I think you must need a psyker to actually, probably just smite is the only kind of power that's in there.
But then you have things like you've got the Tau in there. They don't even know what things like the warp is. So what would they do?
Well, same as what they do in 40k. Fuck all.
They don't do it.
They
okay,
don't
fair
get
enough.
that phase.
Is that as simple as that? Because
probably. That's like I say, that's the same with 40k. Like you take Necrons, you ain't getting the psychic phase. Take Tie, you ain't getting the psychic phase. My ad mech, no psychers. So yeah, I would imagine probably if you ain't got a psyker, you ain't using it.
And then I imagine that would be
workshop things where they write something in and don't actually explain it properly. Like in everything, it's always like an interpretation, or it doesn't say specifically what you can and can't do. It's always like, oh, this happens now, but they don't say who does what, or like. Yeah.
Did you get this info from the how to play video on the
partly how to
Warhammer
play
Plus?
And partly some internet research?
I would say probably if the psychic stuff's come from the how to play, it's probably just they've run through the psychic phase as well.
Yeah.
And didn't sort of specify who can use, because like I've watched the how to play videos, they give you a little rundown of stuff, but they don't go into any great depth.
No, that's the thing. So, and sometimes it creates more questions than answers, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But so one thing that obviously skipping over the psychic phase because we have no idea how that works, and going on to the shooting phase, I actually think that this is a better way of doing a shooting phase than in 40k, because if you're in cover, you get -1 to hit if they're in cover, and -1 if they're more than half range. But then there's no saves on the wound roll, which seems to make more sense to me. Like you're harder to hit, but if you are hit, then not in a good way. And then you get other -1s to hit when there's other certain things. Is like once you lose a certain amount of wounds, you basically get -1 for flesh wounds, which is a way of wounding. But I'll get onto that later. But it seems a lot more intuitive in terms of making it easier to deal with, because there's a lot of like heavy cover, dense cover, all that sort of thing. It's like, does it affect my wound roll? Does it affect my hit roll? In this, it's like it affects your hit roll, doesn't affect your wound roll. And it seems a lot more intuitive and good for quick gameplay. So yeah, like I said, that you also get -1 to hit for flesh wounds, and another -1 to hit if a squad is broken. So once everyone is wounded in your kill team, that squad counts as broken. So it makes it a lot harder to do your actions, and you shoot, and it basically makes you less of a cohesive unit, which I think is a good way of doing it, because you sort of like you're on the back foot, and I think that helps to target all the different units within a kill team as well. So with the wounding, it's exactly like 40k, just without the cover save, and then it goes on to an injury roll. So each model has a certain amount of wounds on it. Once it's reduced to 0 amount of wounds, you take the injury roll. So you do a lot of wounds anyway. You put the markers on it. They act completely as normal until you get to 0. On 1d6, a 1 to 3 is a flesh wound, and a 4 to 6 is out of action. So that's when they're dead. See you later. You're off the table. But 1 to 3, you basically, you're still in the game, but you're not as good. So I think that's quite a cool way of doing it. But then there's other ones that, for example, the Necron kill team, I think they get +1 to their wounds or something like that. Or you can restore a wound every game, every turn. So I imagine what you said about the psychic probably is right, because each sort of faction would have their own funky little things that they can add on top of it. That would make sense. There's another thing about multi-damage weapons, and I tried looking into it, and again, it's got too complicated, so I gave up. Thought, fuck that. So if you do get into combat, the fight phase is then so charging models fight first, and then non-charging. The only difference is -1 to hit if there's intervening terrain, -1 per flesh wound, and -1 if the kill team is broken. So again, you get a benefit if you've already wounded them by shooting them, etc. And then you've got the morale phase, which is the broken squad or shaken. So if your kill team's broken, obviously all your models have -1 to hit. So if all of your models are wounded, you're going to shoot shit as well. So it's a bad day out. But then once the squad is broken, it lasts for all of the game as well. So that's that, even if you get better ones. So it's sort of, I think that also makes sense for quick games. I'm not sure how long a game of Kill Team lasts, because again, some people said it lasts quite quick. I imagine it does if you know what you're doing, but if you don't, and you're like me, it's probably like 3 hours long. But or just getting to grips with something, it probably takes a little while. But once all of the sort of mechanics of the game seem really straightforward, and you roll a couple of dice, and that's that. There's no sort of, I've got to remember this, I've got to remember that, I've got to remember this philosophy, or this gives me that. There are CP for certain things, but it seems a lot more straightforward with the gameplay, which I think is quite appealing. And then the other one that I mentioned, obviously, you've got Broken Squad and Shaken, and each model's basically got a flesh wound. You roll more than you can't take you can't do an action. So each model's got a certain amount of actions it can do, whether that is readying, so it can fire, or Overwatch, or whatever it may be, I believe. But you get +1 to the roll. -1 to the roll. If there's a shaken unit within 2 inches. So if your unit is getting fucked up, everyone else is going to get a little bit sort of shaky about it, which I think is quite cool for the skirmish style of things. So that was sort of the generic breakdown of the rules. I haven't really worked out how the kill teams are picked, and I think that it's the same in the first edition of it as it is in the second one. So I don't know if you can help with that, Glenn, because I know you've got to have like a medic, a sniper, etc. You've got to have certain things within each one. Is that right?
It's because the one thing I have from this edition, like I say, is the compendium that lists every kill team. So you don't need 9 or 10 different codexes. You buy one book and you've got like literally all the stats. You don't even have points costs, because the old kill team, you used to get 100 points and you could pick from a list. You basically couldn't take anything that was elite or a vehicle or stuff like that. The new one, they have sort of specific, almost pre-made parts of kill teams. So, for example, if you want to take a Tau one, you could either take like a full Pathfinder one, which is 2 of the 5-man Pathfinder ones, or you could take a 5-man Pathfinder one and a 5-man Fire Warrior unit, and then they all operate individually. It's one of the few things I've looked into, and it was one of the things I sort of looked at and went, okay, so each individual element, I could pint up that. So then when I get around to playing kill team, I could pick and choose the various bits and pieces that go into the kill team. Yeah, you get your specialisms as well. So you'll have, like in a kill team, you'll have we said a gunner, a heavy, a leader generally is what's in there, and you can give them sort of specific abilities, or you used to be able to give them specific abilities. I'm not sure if you still can, or whether that's just now the gunner is the guy that has the special weapon, so it allows him to take his choice of the special weapon that in the squad he would normally be able to take. And the heavy, same example, is he can take the heavy weapon. I have not looked into it massively. What I actually meant to get was the rulebook. I ended up picking up the compendium because I thought, compendium, that means rulebook. It doesn't. And I didn't realize that until I'd taken it out of the cellophane, so I couldn't go, we need to take this back. Oh shit, it's open. I could tell you about the kill teams, but I can't tell you how to play.
No, probably. Yeah, so looking into it, it's definitely something I want to be getting into, because it seems like I say, it seems like you just roll a few dice and it's very straightforward. There's not huge amounts to remember. And I think with the different factions you've got, you can either run a few models or quite a few as well. So you can make it easier on yourself as well, I think, by running just a few models and having only a certain amount to remember. But I liked what I saw, but it's still a Warhammer game, so it's still fucking confusing. Yeah. It's not and I'm sure once you play it a couple of times, you're like, oh, that makes sense. But when you're sort of watching someone else play it or just reading the rules, and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. So that's basically what I've got out of it. Definitely want to play it. But again, I think this is going to be a short term. There's a couple of us get together, beer and pizza. Let's have a quick game of this. Don't take it too seriously. I think you can be quite strategic with it, but I don't think I would be, because it seems like a shorter game for just rolling a few dice and having a laugh. I imagine there are certain sort of meta ways of going about it, but same as every game. But
I love it when I hear just rolling a few dice and having a laugh. That's all I want out of it.
Yeah, that's all I want out of it.
No players left.
Dave will laugh until he starts losing, and then he'll just stand there with the amp.
Pretty much. It doesn't happen. I've got the towel now, so
we both do the same, though. Me and Dave, we're exactly the same like that. It's like you can feel it in the air, like when something goes back.
The tension rising.
Completely quiet. Like, okay, fine, yeah, cool.
Yeah, just fucking do it. Yeah, okay, yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
Tom, you lose a roll off and you've lost the game in your head.
And that works against you and Dave, or it used to. Like, I just keep telling them how great they are and how they can't lose. And, I've won the game now. And you should pull them into a false sense of security. Then I'll strike. But I've started, it's not happening anymore.
Yeah. So if you pick skill team then, Dave, would you just stick with like Tau or anything? Or would you
really, really like the Krieg models.
Yeah.
Or the Orc Commandos as well. The Orc Commandos, I think, are really cool. So if I did pick it up, I'd probably pick up that set where it's got both of them in.
That was a cool trailer as well when they released the new version.
Yeah.
Shiny new toys for Dave.
I've told myself I'm not going to buy anything else, but obviously I told myself that when buying Tau, and then went out and spent another 100 quid on Tau. So. We will see.
Well, yeah, if you buy the new set with the Krieg and the Orcs in, and then we'll just come around and we'll play with your toys.
Yeah.
That makes it. Then I'll play Kill Team with you.
The nice thing
is your plan? Is that
if all you need is one person with the rulebook?
Yeah.
And then because we've all got 40k armies, everyone's got Kill Team.
You'll be able to build one from your Death Guard, John.
That's how it works.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. In fact, you could probably build one from your Ultramarines from what you've got.
Yeah.
Because I know one part of the Marine one, I think is 3 assault intercessors.
Yeah, it's
or 4, maybe 2 or 3 actual intercessors. So you don't even need to have full units of stuff. You could literally have maybe 2 or 3 models, and that's all you need for that part of the kill team, or even the full kill team itself. Could be.
Yeah, I think the Custodes kill team is only 3 models.
It's one dude and a jet bike.
So is it what is it? Is it? I know you obviously you say you have categories like a sniper and a heavy. Do you have like special characters? Like, would you have like a Lord of Contagion or something?
No,
like that? Or is it just marine marine level?
It's skirmish
high-
based from what I've done.
yeah,
So it
the
is
highest-
literally like you've just come across a few other people and you're just having a quick skirmish, and there's no real leaders or named characters in it.
Sort of like the highest kind of level stuff, at least at the compendium, is like a sergeant.
Right.
He is generally the leader of your kill team, is the sergeant from the squad that you've picked him from. That's pretty much it. I know with previous editions of kill team they did expand on it, and it became almost less of a skirmish because they upped the points, and you could then take sort of like minor level HQs, so like an exalted champion for chaos, and like maybe a lieutenant or somewhere around that kind of level, not like captains and stuff. Things that would be leading small incursion forces rather than commanding armies. That's the kind of level of character you get to.
Right, okay.
But I don't know if they've included them in, because I think they're on maybe second or third box set of kill team now, because they did the Thai one with the sisters, and they did the orcs and the guard one. I'm not sure if they've done a third one or not.
There was one. There was one of the starter sets that was Space Wolves Reavers.
Yeah, who are they fighting?
I can't remember who they were fighting, but that was very close. Again, when I was just deciding whether to get back into it or not, it was between Blackstone Fortress or Kill Team, and I was like, "Oh, Space Wolves Kill Team," but I didn't go for it in the end.
Yeah, but they were just basically, they're just Reavers though, painted like Space Wolves.
They were just that's exactly what it was. Yeah.
The other boxes they've done specifically new models and new casts for them, because like those orcs are sweet as hell.
Yeah.
And the plastic Steel Legion as well, or Krieg, whichever they are. So yeah, I don't know if there's a third one out there, so I don't know if they've expanded upon what you can take.
Nakman's coming out. Kill Team Nakman.
That's the one. Yeah.
And it looks like it's Eldari versus someone else. Chaos. Eldari Chaos.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Glenn, sorry. In fact, anything else, Dave, for Kill Team? Did we finish with you?
No, I think we're all finished. I don't know what the fuck I'm going on about. I didn't really add anything to the conversation. The usual.
Yeah.
Wiping your head like a Louisiana governor. I feel hot today.
I say.
Not guilty. Oh. Cool. So enough of the nonsense then, and back onto.
Why Foghorn Leghorn, Dave? I say. What was that? Sorry, John.
No, that's all right. Glenn, take us home. Sort us out. What are we talking about? What do you know?
So you haven't had a chance to Google something then?
Well, I could Google it, and I could have looked at it. The thing is, I thought about it. I was like, well, if I was going to pick another system to play from Games Workshop, it would be Lord of the Rings, because I like Lord of the Rings. I'd like to get the models. I'd like to paint the models, and I'd like to play the battles. But then I thought, that's about it. I don't want to sit here and talk about the Lord of the Rings books or movies, because everyone should have seen the films probably. And I'm not going to sit here and labour the rules, because I still don't know fucking 40k rules. So it's Lord of the Rings is what I pick. There you go.
In fairness, that's not a bad game.
Yeah. Well, in fact, I was going to say, when you was in the shop, did you get to play it a lot, or because I know that there was a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff there when it was in.
Yeah, I did play it. I taught it quite a few times as well. And the remarkable thing about Lord of the Rings is they're still releasing goddamn models for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which sort of astounds me.
There's an article every month in White Dwarf about it, because as I said, there's one in the latest edition, and they're releasing, if anything, they're releasing more models, because they're expanding the like the battles you can actually wage beyond the narrative of the book itself, the books itself.
Do you think the new HBO show is going to have any impact? Do you think if it's good enough that Games Workshop because I don't know how the intellectual property works, would they pick something out of that?
It depends on what they've got the licensing for.
Yeah.
I know back when I was still working for the company, it was about the time when The Hobbit came out.
Yeah.
And Games Workshop at the time didn't particularly want to release stuff for The Hobbit, but because they were required to by whatever deal they had with New Line at the time, they had to. So they, and it was all right, but I think the original system was better. I don't know what it's like now. It operated a little bit like Kill Team. It was individual models rather than squads.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, like it was a good game. It was a good system. I enjoyed it. But I don't know what it's like now. I just like it because it's Lord of the Rings.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's my answer. But there's no point in me pretending because it would just be me.
You end up saying like me.
It would just be me reading from a page. So yeah, we all love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I'm
just digging me out. That's literally what I just spent the last fucking 15 minutes doing.
Yeah, and I did text you and say, don't bother fucking coming on tonight.
Nobody wants to hear from you anyway.
Did you?
No.
Did you though?
No. What's up, Dave? Please.
Please come.
Please. Yeah, we want to ridicule you.
It'd help if you could say the fucking word.
Ridicule.
Anyway, I'll edit that out. Glenn, talk about Blood Bowl.
Yeah, so whilst I've played pretty much every game going that Games Workshop's produced, Blood Bowl is the one for me that's the nearest and dearest to my heart. I've been playing it since mid-90s, right about the same time I've been playing 40k, and it is, for those who don't know, basically a super violent version of American football set in the old world. And that's the proper old world, not the Age of Sigmar world that we currently now have. So you've got your normal humans, you've got your orcs, you've got your elves and everything like that. I think it's sitting somewhere around about 26 official teams now. And they've just announced the Norse at Adepticon a couple of weeks ago. So really simple. You've got 1 million gold coins to spend. You buy your team. You got to have at least 11 players on the pitch. Some restrictions too, where you can and can't set up players. You can't have too many players out wide. You've got to have at least 3 players in the line of scrimmage. And it's American football. So you've got your thrower. He's going to try and pass the ball. You can only do that once a turn. You've got 8 turns per half each. You take a turn to do everything in your turn. Then it's your opponent's turn. There's certain situations where you get a turnover, ends your turn automatically. So you could have not done anything with the ball. It could be lying out in the open. You ball something up, and end of your turn, gives your opponent the chance to do whatever he needs to do. Yeah, battery's a bit low. One of the main reasons I like the game as well, though, is because there's a massive RPG element to it. So if your team does well, you get your star player points. You can build your players up over time, over games. They have better skills, so it makes their whatever they're going to do in the game easier. Or you've got crazy ass secret weapons. You got guys running around chainsaws. You've got guys with blunderbusses that can fire the ball down the field. You've got guys riding steam-powered death rollers, which is basically a giant studded steamroller. Strangely, things like that will only stay on the pitch until a touchdown is scored, because they're going to get sent off. That's deemed an illegal weapon. But yeah, it's such a fun game to play. It's probably the game I've played more than 40k as well.
Is that because it's easier to play, or is it because you enjoy it more?
It's a bit of both, probably. Whilst it is a simpler game system, it's more intricate, because if you've got 11 models, you can only pass once a turn. You can only do certain things once a turn. You can hit people if you're in base-to-base contact with them or in adjacent squares, as it is on the Blood Bowl pitch. If you start the turn like that, you can punch them in the face. But if you're not, and you have to run up to them to punch them in the face, you can only do that once per turn. So it's really difficult to work out. I need to move him first to then he can help him. So that makes my block on him a bit more favorable. And then that'll clear out that so I can get through there. So it's a really, really chess-like game to a certain extent. But my God, is it fun when it comes down to, last-ditch scrambles for, going for it to try and get that extra square of movement to get a touchdown. Never go for it in Blood Bowl.
Never,
if you need to go for it in Blood Bowl to get into the end zone, you're falling down. That's just the unwritten rule. You're going to fucking fall down because you will roll that one on the dice.
Basically, you can move up to 2 extra squares, but you have to roll for each one of them. And if you roll a 1, you fall over, and then that's your turn done.
Yep. Basically, if your player falls down in your turn, that's the end of your turn. That's a turnover. If you fumble the ball in your turn, that's the end of your turn. So there's a few little simple things that are quite obvious that if you ball something up, that's the end of your turn.
But
is that just rolling a 1?
Well, no, it depends. It depends what it is. Do they still have reroll tokens?
Yes.
Yeah.
Plus, a lot of skills give you a reroll on
native reroll.
But yeah, there's, like I say, there's about 26 teams, I think, that is officially supported. And then there's another 6 or so that are sort of semi-supported. They're in the, now that there's the newer edition, I don't know if they are supported because they changed the profiles. Instead of being an agility thing, they give them a passing stat and things like that. So some of the older teams haven't got an up-to-date sort of rules system or rules profile for the new system. And some of them are sort of like proper fan favorites, like the Norse were one of those teams. But now that they've got the new profile, new models, everything like that, it tends to be the ones that Games Workshop aren't supporting with models don't get the update or aren't included in the updates until they're ready to produce the new models.
How many teams do you have yourself?
Currently, 3.
There's going to be more.
Rookie now.
I used to have a load of the old ones. I had about 8 or 9 of the old ones when they were metal, and I flogged them all about 5 years ago because I thought I'm not going to play Blood Bowl again. I wasn't in sort of like a group that was actively playing Blood Bowl, and I sold them all for quite a bit of money. So even though they were shitly painted.
So what have you got?
I have got a Dark Elf team, a Orc team, and a human team. But it's the old classic humans and the old Orcs from the starter set from like the 90s.
Was that the 2nd edition starter set? I'm trying to think, because that's the 2nd edition was the one that I started with, which was it came with the cardboard pitch, not the polystyrene pitch. That's 2nd edition. Yeah, I know those models.
So I did look up what edition we're on, but it's very confusing because 2nd edition was technically the 3rd different edition. Then they moved into the living rulebook, and then there was about 4 or 5 editions of, maybe even 7 editions of the living rulebook, which was something that was maintained and you could just download it. whenever they basically FAQ'd the rulebook or added things into it. Brilliant way of operating a gaming system, instead of, re-releasing a box and making you buy the new rulebook and things like that. And it was sort of community driven as well, to a large extent. And now we've gone to, I think there was an edition after that, and now we're into the second season, which is the current edition, but it's probably about 8th or 9th iteration of the rules. So it's a bit confusing as to what edition's what.
How long do the games usually last?
A couple of hours, usually, because you've got 8 turns per player per half. Each turn is supposed to have a 3-minute time limit, so you can do the math on that and work out like the maximum time you should be spent on a game.
An hour and a half, isn't it?
Very, very rarely.
Without any breaks.
Yeah, very, very rarely do you use the full 3 minutes for each of your 16 turns. But I'm not 100% sure if the time limit is still in the rule system now. I can't remember. That might be a previous edition.
Having an egg timer.
Yeah,
for,
yeah.
3 minutes.
You used to get an egg timer in the starter set, but you don't get that anymore. So I'm not sure if the time limit's still in there, or people just use their phone because it's
true.
Not the 90s.
Ben, hello.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to plug in. Hang on.
Very nice noises.
That was horrible to watch.
I know.
I enjoyed it.
All staring to Glenn.
Go. There we go. Better.
Nice.
What was going on? Just out of interest, I just bought the Blood Bowl 2 PlayStation game. I know it's not the board game, but is there any merit in playing that game just to try and learn a few of the basic rules for the board game of how things work?
That game is practically 100% the previous edition of the rules. Until they released the new box and updated the rules, that was the game. So you could more or less learn how to play the game. I mean, it does the dice rolls for you and things like that, but it's pretty much as is. There is a new I think Blood Bowl 3 is coming out sometime this year. It's been delayed several times, and I haven't got an official release date for it. And that will be the new rule system, I believe. So I will be getting that as well.
How much was the old one, Tom?
£2.97, I think.
Yeah.
I think I like.
You can get it as an app, like the Blood Bowl 2. You can get it as an app as well.
I think I might get that game.
I played it. I bought all of the teams digitally because, as I said, I used to have them all when I was younger. But you've got them all on there, and they had loads of different teams as well, like the werewolves rather than just the undead. So you had like a werewolf version of the undead.
Nice.
Yeah, because they've split the undead into like 2 or 3 different versions of the undead. They've also sort of added in combined teams as well, so you can. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about the all-star teams. I'm talking about in the actual Blood Bowl game itself. So you've the board game version.
Oh, really?
So you've got things like the Underworld Creepers. So that's like your goblins and your Skaven. You know, teams that would sort of team up together. Plus now with Dungeon Bowl, you've got basically Blood Bowl within a dungeon, imaginatively, but their teams are drawn from the different colleges of magic in the Empire, and they're picked from 3 different teams. So like the College of Light, I think, will be like, you can take High Elves, Imperial nobles and maybe Slan or something like that. I can't remember what way you break them down, but you can pick your teams from 3 different races. So that's an interesting little spin on that. I want to see them actually release more of those in boxed form, because like you could pick the they did the sort of like the Imperial one that had some random dwarves and some humans and something else, like you said, the All-Stars teams. I want to see them do one for each of the colleges of magic for Dungeon Bowl as well. That'd be really good to see. All played on HeroQuest boards.
Yes,
from back in the day.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you build it up, don't you? It's not a rectangle board and
no
Dungeon Bowl.
Yeah, with all your little corridors and bouncing balls off walls and stuff like that. Yeah, it's really fun way to play as well. But that's walking before you can run. Got to play the basics first.
Was that our 4th or 5th game so far that we're all going to meet up for to learn? Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be a busy year.
Yeah, fairness. I've only got 1 pitch, and sort of realistically, no, I could probably manage to script together 4 or 5 different teams out of, because I had, once you've been playing the game for as long as I have, you start looking at the models, and when they don't support the game massively well, you start looking at things and think, I can make a counts as team. So I was actually going to do a Norse team. My catchers were going to be pink horrors because they've got arms and tentacles all over the place. My blockers, I think, were going to be basically all of the 4 gods, their lesser demons, were going to be something. And then some of the big things, the Yeti or the Yetis, I think, were going to be Spawn. So it was going to be a completely count-sized team, but everything was going to be specific as to what and semi-fitting to what they were. I've built teams from scratch. I've built teams out of the box. You can do whatever you want with Blood Bowl as well, to a certain extent.
Have you ever painted any of that?
Yes.
Oh,
on purpose?
Yes. I have 1 fully painted team. That was I can't remember the name of it, but it was basically chaos warriors or humans. You could have 3 big guys, so I had an ogre, a troll, and a minotaur. A random dark elf. You could have some goblins in there. So they were all sort of scratch built and done from various bits and pieces. Really enjoyed that team. It was a really good team to use. It's one of the few teams you can have actually 3 proper big guys on the front line. And if you've played Blood Bowl before, having that kind of strength on the front line just means that your opponent is pretty much just putting scrubs on the front line because he knows they're just going to get pelted into next week. And hopefully score some star player points and make them a little bit better in the following game.
Cool.
So you can roll over. If you're keeping score, you can put on your team and make them better for the next game. They don't just go back to start.
That's the main thing, because at the end of the day, it is a sports-based game.
Yeah.
So the game is designed to be played as a league or a tournament or something like that. So it's best played with, like, you get 5 or 6 people together and you do a league. And once you've run them sort of like through, I don't know, 5 or 10 games, you notice that your guys are getting to a level where they're getting significantly better. So you can get like stat increases, so they move faster or they get better at catching the ball, or they could be chaos and you get random mutations, so you can end up with a massive claw, so you can get through their armor easier and stuff. So
long legs,
it is
extra arms.
Yeah. Oh, you gave him player.
Well, so I had a gutter runner that had extra long legs, so he could make it from one side of the pitch to the other in one turn if he went for it.
Yeah, the damn gutter runners. That was the Skaven team. That was the build to go for. Was the gutter runners with a few stat increases.
Yeah,
could do the 1 turn touchdown.
Couldn't block for shit though.
No, they're on strength too.
You needed
no armor. So if you caught them, you could have them.
You needed your rat ogre on the line to punch your hole.
The only other sort of alternatives to your 1 turn touchdown was your big guy and a goblin or a halfling.
Yeah.
Get him the ball, pick up the halfling or the goblin, and throw him down the pitch. Hope that he lands. He could bounce and run on into the end zone and score a touchdown.
The troll could do that, couldn't he? The troll could pick up the goblin and launch him down.
Yeah. Trolls, ogres, tree men, I think. Yeah. But only to little guys.
Yeah. Strength 2 or below.
Yeah. Yeah, so your goblins, halflings, and snotlings is pretty much what you could chuck.
Yeah, it was a very, very good game. I do miss it.
It's probably the most fun game. But yeah, like, you really got to think about it whenever you're playing it. It can be such an enjoyable game, but so stressful as well, because everything's done with individual models and everything comes down to like that one dice. And you know, if you balls up that one dice, that's the end of your turn, and your opponent tries to take advantage of what you've just messed up.
What's a high scoring game then? What when you normally play, what can you expect to get?
Depends on the teams, really.
Yeah.
So like if you're scoring like more than 3 touchdowns, you're doing well. Because it usually takes a decent team 2 to 3 turns to score a touchdown. So you'll only do that twice a half. So realistically, if you get into 4, you've done very well. You can do better with, some of the faster teams if you can get lucky and get, so your 1 ton touchdowns and stuff like that. But yeah, if you can score 4 in a game, you've done very well.
Because you got to get the ball away from the opposition as well. That's what takes your time.
And you can only do that by punching him in the face.
Yeah.
I'm assuming things die as well.
Oh yes.
Yeah, quite brutally.
That's a pain in the arse. If you've got a character or a little, dude that you've built up, and then suddenly some chaos warrior punches him in the face, and they roll a 12 on the injury roll.
Yeah.
You're like, well, that's that. Gone forever.
Yeah, you've had him for 12 or 14 games. He's skilled up a couple of times. You've named him.
You've named him. Yeah,
you've named him.
You got to fucking rub him out. That's horrible.
It is. It's one of those games where you properly get attached to everything you have on the table.
Nice. That sounds good. You have to you'll have to host it, Glenn, and bring it all around and get us like Tom said, another game for us all to get together and play.
Yeah.
I think that's quite an easy one though, that compared to some of the
it like I said, it's an easy system to get your head around.
Yeah.
But you can get quite complicated with it, especially once you start running leagues and stuff like that, because you've got a lot of additional rules to go along with that. But a straight up game of Blood Bowl, if you just got the box, the starter set, whack the models together, it is quite straightforward.
Cool.
That sounds good.
Maybe we just need to have an alternative games day, because you don't need a lot of space for Blood Bowl. You don't need a lot of space for Underworld. You don't really need a lot of space for Kill Team. You probably need the most space for Blackstone.
Yeah.
But like Blood Bowl is a 2-person thing. Underworlds is a 2-person thing. So you could run a game of each on the one table very, very easily. Even if you just sort of played a half of Blood Bowl and a game of Underworlds and sort of rotate round, we could smash that out easily in a day.
Yeah.
I will give a special mention though to a couple of slightly left field choices. Warhammer Risk, great game.
Don't say Monopoly.
No, I won't say Monopoly.
That's my second.
And the 40k version of Talisman, which I believe is called Relic. Yes.
Yeah,
Did you know there was that?
I didn't know that existed. That sounds amazing.
That is a very, very good game. Because it is just Talisman. What?
It just cost Shane another load of money. You realise?
I love Talisman. I love Talisman. Talisman's an amazing game. So having a 40k version of that would be huge. Yeah,
that is. Yeah, I've played that quite a few times. And finally, another board game is a proper board game that uses the Games Workshop license. It's a game called Chaos in the Old World, and it was the 4 chaos gods trying to corrupt and take over the old world. It is a absolutely cracking board game. It's probably one of the best board games I've ever played in my life, because each chaos god has their own specific way of corrupting, and you have to get to a certain level of corruption before the timer runs out, because then the old world wins. So you play with 4 people, but the game itself can win, not just you.
So do you play as one? You pick a god?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's Slanesh.
Yeah. They strangely get corruption points by corrupting nobles to heinous acts.
Dave, it doesn't mean you just get your dick out and start rubbing it. Yeah.
Just on the board game.
Everyone else runs away.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Windmilled.
In the pieces at your.
Some bits of plastic flinging around the table.
Moving on. Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah.
Out there though, there's so much that's not just 40k for us to look at or for other people to look at. Even random things that Games Workshop license as well. Like there's a Blood Bowl card game, which is a fantastic little game. I can't remember what it's actually called now, but yeah, it's a really good game. Really, really simple. Yeah, and I've done like a load of sort of game in a box games, mostly for the American markets as well, which is kind of irritating. Because they did like a Blood Bowls, it's almost like a sevens version, like a smaller game for the American market. They've done a little game, I think it was called Combat Patrol, that was like scouts against some stuff. All just game in a box. You don't need to add anything to it, but they are technically still Games Workshop models that they've just sort of jazzed in there as well.
It's almost like you used to work for Games Workshop or something.
No, to be completely honest, most of that stuff has come out since I've worked for the company. Like all of the random stuff that was licensed out has since I've left.
How much are they paying you for this episode? Plugging it.
You think I bought my turns from Element? No. No, just joking. No, at the end of the day, I'm a Games Workshop fanboy. Always will be, and always have been. And if they put their name on something, at the very least, I'll go and have a look at it, probably with a more open mind than some other hobbyists will.
You mean you're going to buy it?
Yeah.
I probably will buy it as well. Well, how else are you going to have a look at it? You got to buy the damn thing to have a look at it. Comes in sealed plastic nowadays. Gone are the old days when you used to be able to get a codex, lift it up off the shelf and be like, okay. Oh, shit, I'm not buying that. No, you got to buy it and open the plastic so you can't take the bastard back first.
So then they change after the rules a couple of months down the line anyway. Dave, looks like you're getting nerfed, mate. Tower getting nerfed.
I don't want to talk about it.
Just here, anyway, we've come up with quite a few good. Well, we haven't come up with them. We've talked about quite a few good games there, so hopefully we'll make the effort together and play some of these. And unless anyone's got any other last-minute entries to throw out there, let us know in the comments what games you play, what games we've missed, and what games you'd like to try, and if we've done a terrible job of describing them. And do check us out on Instagram. Look on our bio there for the link tree, which will show you where you can find us and everywhere else. Obviously, if you're watching us, that's YouTube, and you can find us on all good podcast services, but look at the link tree for everything else. And thanks for joining us. And for this week, that is Exterminatus.
As always, we would like to thank you for listening to our Iron and Ceramite podcast. If you liked us, then you can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and any other good podcast services. Just remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
Also, I kept a note on there just to let you know how many times we all combined said Gribbly. So Glenn won with 4. He said Gribbly 4 times, and all of us others combined was only twice. So complete total of 6 times. But
Gribbly,
yeah, I thought it'd be more than that, to be honest, Glenn. I thought we'd get at least 5 or 6 from you, but maybe next time.
I see. Blood Bowl doesn't have as many Gribblies.
That's number 5.
You said Gribbly about
Gribbly,
dozen times.
Right, gents, I'm going to have a piss break, just to let you know.
Yep. Good. So am I.
Oh.
Well, I think we've all done the same thing. We started looking up the Spaceballs thing. I'm just having a look. It looks like it's a lone set.
Yeah, that's. I think it was.
Ulfric. It just looks like his Space Wolves and nothing else.
So fucking hot in this house.
Okay, let's waffle some shit.
Yes. Wait, I'm going to get a good shot. Oh, Glenn chugging away there.
What's he chugging away on? I can't see him on mine.
What do you think?
Diet Pepsi.
Diet Pepsi.
Ah.
He's got Dave off screen. Oh, Tom's got
Chugging balls.
I'm trying to. Right, because there's only 4 of us, I can actually put it on the version where you can see all 4, because that's the amount I can see. So I normally have it on just whoever's talking, so I can't see everyone else. But yeah, no, that's perfect.
Okay,
now I can see what Glenn's up to.
Cool. Right.
Actually, I'm actually playing combat cards.
Oh, fucking hell. Quality.
I spent a lot of time getting above Shane again.
I was going to say, it went on a big surge today. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
because it's only tomorrow, I think, that it
Yeah,
finishes.
exactly. That's why. It's like,
Ah.
oh, fucking, yeah, I'm not having that. Yeah.
I got really into it, and I was I've been playing it for ages. I got up to I think 5,000 points, and I went on a massive, like my chaos just took a massive hit. I just couldn't win with them. It dejected me, and I couldn't go back to it. I couldn't face it again. But
No.
I'll go back to the reset because hopefully I won't fall too far down. You normally just go down 1 level, don't you?
I think if you get to the if you get to 5,000, that's where you'll drop down to.
All right.
So if you get to 5,000, that's where you drop down to. If you get to, I don't know, below that, it might be 3,000 you drop to. Don't know.
Yeah, because we dropped from Terra all the way down to 5,000.
Yeah.
Is a bit. Yeah. But then you get all the nice bonuses when you climb back up again.
You do.
And Dave's just replied.
Has he been a bitch?
I'll tell you in a second. He's typing. Hold your breath for suspense.